हेलो स्टूडेंट्स। तो आज हम पढ़ेंगे एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक ऑफ बायोकेमिस्ट्री दैट इज प्रोटीन्स एंड अमीनो एसिड्स। नाउ लेट मी मेक इट वेरी क्लियर दैट जो भी न्यूट्रिशन के एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स होते हैं, ओके, उसमें दिस चैप्टर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। तो यहाँ से क्वेश्चंस हमेशा आते हैं। So we know that amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Now, what is the structure of an amino acid? If you look on the right hand side, you can see a carbon atom. Okay. So this carbon atom, which is known as your alpha carbon, is attached to a functional group known as carboxylic acid group, that is COOH. And on the left hand side, it is attached to an amino group that is NH2. तो आपका ये जो अमाइनो ग्रुप होता है, this is basically basic in nature. Okay. On the other hand, your carboxylic acid group, this is acidic in nature, right? And then this carbon atom is attached to a hydrogen atom and it is attached to an R group, that is basically your R side chain, right? So यूजुअली जो प्रोटीन्स होते हैं, ओके, उनमें दीज अमीनो एसिड्स दे एग्जिस्ट इन दी एल फॉर्म। ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल हमने पढ़ा था कि ग्लूकोज जो होता है यूजुअली वो डी फॉर्म में एग्जिस्ट करता है। सो दीज अमीनो एसिड्स ये यूजुअली एग्जिस्ट करते हैं इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एल अल्फा अमीनो एसिड। सो रिमेंबर दिस थिंग। ओके, however there are d amino acids as well which are found in your peptide antibiotics, peptidoglycan, and in the cell wall of bacteria. Now, what are the functions of protein? So there are two functions of proteins. One is the structural function and other is the dynamic function. So when we talk about the structural function, it means that proteins are responsible for the structure and strength of the body. Okay. For example, we all know that your hair and nails, okay, they contain keratin. Then collagen and elastin, they are found in your bone matrix. So these all are the structural functions of proteins. When we talk about the dynamic functions, we have our enzymes, hormones, okay. Then you have your blood clotting factors, antibodies like IgA, IgG, IgM, etc. Right? Now, another important thing is that nitrogen is an essential component of protein. And you have to remember this percentage that 1 gram of protein is equivalent to 16% nitrogen. And we can estimate this by which method? So this nitrogen is estimated by your Geldal method. Okay, so keep this in mind. Now, so the general structure of amino acids is clear to us, that is an NH2 group and a COOH group, right? Now, in proteins, there are only 20 standard amino acids which are found, right? Now, why is it so? Because जो हमारा universal genetic code होता है, उसमें only these 20 amino acids can be incorporated, right? And we have already discussed about the two functional groups in amino acid, that is the carboxyl group and the amino group, right? Now, if you look on this image on the right hand side, as I told you that आपका जो carboxylic acid group होता है, it is acidic in nature. Okay, so it's mainly a proton donor, right? ये आपके positive ions को donate कर सकता है. And your NH3 plus group, okay, which is basically your amino group, is basic in nature. It is your proton acceptor, right? Now, another important thing is कि जो amino acids होते हैं ना, ये आपने ऊपर देखा, this is the general structure. But in actual, how do these amino acids exist? So they exist in the form of ion. तो ये अपनी ऐसे ionized form में exist करते हैं in the biological system, right? And another important term which you should be aware of is amphoteric. Okay. So we say that amino acids are amphoteric in nature. Amphoteric means that इनका both acidic nature है as well as basic nature है. Okay. So I hope ये सबको clear है, right? And again, see all this information which we are discussing, this is from Satyanarayana book, right? Now, we know about optical isomerism, right? For example, we know that अगर कोई carbon atom है and it is attached to four different groups, then we call that carbon to be asymmetric in nature and we say that it exhibits optical isomerism, right? Now, out of all the amino acids, okay, glycine is the one which does not show any optical activity. So this is again a very important question for the entrance exam, that which amino acid is said to be optically inactive. Then you have your glycine. Because if you look at the structure of glycine, which we will be discussing soon, then you will see that the carbon atom which is there, it is not attached to different groups. Okay, उनमें से एक group आप देखोगे वो similar होता है, right? And optical activity in amino acids results in D form and L form of an amino acid. So here you can see that D amino acid is over here and L amino acid is over here. And again, just like we studied in glucose, okay, here also जो आपका structure होता है, it is derived from the structure of your glyceraldehyde molecule, right? Now let's look at the classification of amino acids. So amino acids can be classified on the basis of their nutritional properties as well as based on their R group. Now on the basis of nutritional properties, we call them as essential amino acids, okay, and non-essential amino acids. So this we will be discussing later on. But on the basis of their R group, we have polar amino acids and non-polar amino acids. Polar amino acids are the ones which are soluble in water, and non-polar ones are those which are insoluble in water. Okay. So polar amino acids में आपके पास further you have two categories, that is neutral and charged. And in non-polar amino acids you have aliphatic, okay, which means which have a straight chain, aromatic amino acids, and sulfur containing amino acids. Now, if I talk about essential and non-essential amino acids. Okay, first of all, what are essential amino acids, right? So see, basically we have 9 essential amino acids which are not synthesized by mammals, okay, but they are very much essential in our diet. Okay, so they are said to be indispensable nutrients कि हमें ये diet में चाहिए ही चाहिए, but the body cannot make it. Okay, that is why you have to take them from your diet because body is not able to make these essential amino acids. And then we have the non-essential amino acids, which definitely the body is able to make. Okay, so these are your essential amino acids, that is your histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. Okay, now based on the chemical structures, you have polar amino acids and non-polar amino acids. Now, polar amino acids, as I told you, they are neutral and there are ones which are charged. And then non-polar, you have aliphatic, aromatic, and sulfur containing. So now for the examination point of view, you have to remember the examples, especially let's first start with your sulfur containing amino acids. Okay. Sulfur containing amino acids may you have your cysteine, okay, methionine, and even there's another amino acid known as cysteine. Now, what you have to remember is that कौन से amino acid में कौन सा particular group होता है. Okay. For example, cysteine, okay, because it is sulfur containing, it contains a sulfidyl group. Methionine is also a sulfur containing amino acid and it contains a thioether group. Okay. And then you have your cysteine. Now, a lot of questions come from here that what exactly is cysteine? So basically, when a disulfide bond is formed between two cysteine molecules, then that result in formation of your cysteine, right? Now, there's another category of amino acids that is non-polar amino acids जिनमें amino acid group होता है. उसका example is your proline. So remember that proline has an amino acid group. Now, again, see, we have to remember the abbreviations, the short forms of these amino acids. So you should be knowing that NET, it stands for methionine, pro stands for proline, right? Now, when we talk about the aromatic amino acids, then we have three aromatic amino acids, which means that they have a benzene ring. Okay, phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan. Okay. Then in aliphatic amino acids, we have glycine, alanine, valine, leucine, and isoleucine. So these are your aliphatic amino acids. Then we have, and yeah, remember one thing that glycine is your that particular amino acid which does not show optical activity. Then you have your charged amino acid. Now, on the basis of charge, we divide them into positively charged and negatively charged amino acids. Positively charged are, for example, lysine, arginine, and histidine. So, ये आपके positively charged amino acids हैं जिनकी basic side chains हैं. Okay. And negatively charged ones are your aspartate and glutamate. Now, in the examination, they might even ask you मतलब मे बी अगर आपको ऑप्शन में दिया जाए aspartic acid or glutamic acid, then don't get confused. They are the same. Okay, aspartate is equal to aspartic acid and glutamate is equal to glutamic acid. So they are the same and these are your negatively charged amino acids with an acidic side chain. Then you have your neutral amino acids wherein you have serine, threonine, asparagine and glutamine. Okay, so remember this. Now, another very important point which we have to know is that there are two amino acids which do not participate in gluconeogenesis. That is your leucine and lysine. So you remember that leucine and lysine are your amino acids which do not participate in gluconeogenesis. Okay, because upon degradation, these amino acids will only produce acetyl coenzyme A. Right, so that's all for today's class, and we will be continuing rest of the class